The transmission arrived with a crystalline shimmer, holographic symbols dancing across the bridge's primary communication array. Commander Elena Rodriguez studied the incoming message, her dark eyes narrowing with each passing second. The bridge of the U.S. determination fell into a reverent silence, punctuated only by the soft hum of quantum processors and the distant thrum of gravitational stabilizers. The message was an intricately designed hologram, a masterpiece of alien communication technology. Projected in multiple spectral bands to accommodate different biological perceptions, it represented the collective communication of the Galactic Council, 12 advanced civilizations that had dominated interstellar politics for millennia. Their symbol rotated slowly, a complex geometric arrangement that looked like an interconnected neural network, each node representing a member civilization. Senior Communications Officer Marcus Chen leaned forward, his augmented eye implants scanning and analyzing the transmission's underlying data streams. "It's more than just a message," he muttered. "It's a comprehensive assessment of humanity's current technological and cultural status." The hologram began to unfold, revealing layers of information that would make most emerging species tremble with a mixture of awe and terror. The Galactic Council's invitation was wrapped in layers of diplomatic language so thick they could suffocate a lesser species' sense of self-worth. "Greetings, Terran species," the translation began, each word carefully modulated to sound both patronizing and magnanimous. "After extensive observation and careful consideration, the Unified Galactic Council has determined that your species has reached a minimal technological threshold worthy of preliminary diplomatic engagement." Elena's left eyebrow arched slightly. Minimal threshold. Preliminary engagement. The language was a thinly veiled attempt at condescension. The message continued, detailing the generous offer of integration. Humanity would be granted provisional membership in the Council, subject to strict technological and cultural oversight. They would receive guidance in interstellar protocols, access to limited technological exchanges, and the protection of more advanced civilizations. Between the lines, the real message was clear. Know your place. Conform. Submit. "Captain," Marcus said, his voice a mixture of professional calm and barely contained amusement, "they're essentially offering us a probationary status. Like we're children being considered for a remedial educational program." Elena's lips curled into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. The bridge crew, a diverse collection of humanity's finest, watched her with a collective understanding. This wasn't just a diplomatic moment. This was a defining instant in human history. The holographic transmission continued, listing the Council's expectations, technological submissions, cultural assessments, economic evaluations. Each requirement was more invasive than the last, revealing the Council's true nature. Not diplomats, but bureaucratic colonizers dressed in the guise of galactic mentors. Lieutenant Aisha Queasy, the ship's quantum systems expert, whispered just loud enough for the bridge to hear. "They have no idea who we are." And they didn't. The Galactic Council had surveyed humanity through long-range sensors and preliminary data collections. They saw a species that had only recently achieved faster-than-light travel, a civilization that had barely begun to explore its own solar system. What they didn't see was the fire, the innovation, the absolutely relentless human capacity for adaptation and defiance. Elena Rodriguez looked at her crew, a team representing the best of humanity. Scientists, warriors, dreamers, engineers, each one embodying a different facet of human potential. In their eyes, she saw not just acceptance of the challenge, but an eager anticipation of the coming response. This wasn't just a diplomatic communication. This was first contact, and humanity was about to make a statement that would echo through the galaxy. "Prepare the response," she said simply. "It's time we introduced ourselves properly." The response took precisely 72 hours to craft, not because humanity needed time to deliberate, but because they wanted to ensure every single word was a calculated strike of diplomatic precision. In the communication hub of the U.S. determination, teams worked in synchronized chaos. Historians traced the Galactic Council's interventions, Legal experts dissected their diplomatic protocols. Linguists crafted a response that would be simultaneously respectful and utterly devastating. Marcus Chen sat at the central console, his augmented fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. Lines of code, diplomatic analysis, and cultural context merged into a singular transmission. This wasn't just a rejection. It was a comprehensive deconstruction of the Council's entire galactic paradigm. "We're not just saying no," Marcus muttered to Lieutenant Queasy. "We're explaining exactly why we're saying no." The initial paragraphs were a masterpiece of diplomatic jiu-jitsu. Each sentence was meticulously constructed, referencing specific Council interventions with surgical precision. They outlined a detailed historical analysis of the Council's interactions with emerging civilizations, a record far from the magnanimous image the Council projected. The transmission began. "Esteemed representatives of the Galactic Council, we acknowledge receipt of your communication, dated Stellar Cycle 7392. Alpha, regarding humanity's potential integration into your established diplomatic framework. After comprehensive review, we must respectfully and unequivocally decline your invitation. Our declination is not born of aggression, but of a profound understanding of the systemic failures inherent in your current galactic governance model." What followed was a forensic dismantling of the Council's diplomatic history. Each claim was backed by meticulous research, cross-referenced data, and a level of analytical depth that would make most academic review boards weep with joy. They highlighted the Council's track record. 17 documented instances of economic subjugation of emerging civilizations. 12 confirmed cases of technological suppression under the guise of cultural preservation. Multiple scenarios where guidance was essentially forced cultural homogenization. Lieutenant Aisha Queasy had been particularly instrumental in this section. Her doctoral research in xenopolitical systems provided the academic rigor that transformed the response from a mere rejection to an intellectual demolition. "Look at this," she had told Marcus during preparation, pulling up holographic displays of previous Council interventions. "They don't protect emerging civilizations. They assimilate them, strip them of unique cultural and technological potential, and then congratulate themselves on their preservation efforts." The response continued to escalate. It wasn't just a defensive document. It was an offensive strategy that laid bare the fundamental flaws in the Council's approach to interstellar diplomacy. Humanity's message made it clear: we see you, we understand you, and we choose not to participate. Your invitation, the transmission read, reveals a fundamental misunderstanding of human potential. We are not a species seeking validation or protection. We are architects of our own destiny. The final paragraphs were a declaration of intent that sent shockwaves through alien communication networks. Humanity wasn't asking for acceptance. They were announcing their arrival. We do not seek conflict. We do not desire confrontation. But we will absolutely and unequivocally defend our right to self-determination. Consider this transmission not as a rejection, but as an introduction. Humanity stands ready to engage on terms of mutual respect and genuine exchange. Until such terms can be established, we remain sovereign. Respectfully and definitively, Commander Elena Rodriguez, United Earth Diplomatic Corps. Marcus Chen looked at the final draft and allowed himself a small smile. "They're going to lose their minds," he said softly. On the bridge, Commander Rodriguez watched the transmission's preparation with a calm that bordered on serenity. This wasn't just a message. This was humanity's first true statement to the galaxy. The send button glowed, waiting. The technological demonstration began with a whisper, not a roar. Dr. Imani Okik stood before the holographic display in the Research and Development Complex of Luna Base, her fingers tracing the intricate quantum network projection. What looked like a simple geometric lattice to the untrained eye was actually a revolution in communication technology that would make the Galactic Council's most advanced systems look like children's string phones. "It's not about raw power," she explained to the assembled team of engineers and scientists. "It's about fundamental reimagining." The first wave of technological revelations was carefully curated. Humanity understood the art of strategic disclosure, showing just enough to shock, but not enough to completely terrify. Each innovation was a precision-guided intellectual missile aimed directly at the Council's technological ego. The Quantum Entanglement Communication Network was their opening salvo. Unlike traditional faster-than-light communication systems that relied on massive energy expenditures and complex relay stations, the human network operated on principles that seemingly defied the known laws of physics. Information could be transmitted instantaneously across galaxy-spanning distances, with encryption so robust it made previous security protocols look like simple playground riddles. Lieutenant Commander David Chen, head of technological integration, walked the team through the demonstration. "Notice how the quantum nodes adapt," he said, highlighting the network's self-healing capabilities. "If one node is compromised, the entire network reconfigures itself in microseconds. No loss of data. No communication interruption." The Galactic Council's communication experts would later describe the initial analysis as fundamentally disorienting. This wasn't just an incremental improvement. This was a complete paradigm shift. But the quantum communication network was just the appetizer. Nanoengineering techniques developed in the harsh research environments of Mars revealed the next layer of human innovation. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, not to be confused with the ship's commander, had developed adaptive nanoswarms capable of terraforming planetary environments with unprecedented speed and precision. Where previous galactic civilizations required centuries to transform a marginally habitable planet, human nanotechnologies could accomplish the same task in months. The demonstration video showed barren, radiation-scorched terrain transforming into lush, breathable landscapes. Entire ecosystems emerged from microscopic machines that could analyze, adapt, and reconstruct at a molecular level. "We're not just changing environments," Dr. Rodriguez explained during a presentation. "We're creating dialogues with planetary ecosystems. These nanoswarms don't just modify. They communicate with existing biological systems." The adaptive AI technologies pushed the boundaries even further. Unlike the rigid, rule-based artificial intelligence systems used by other galactic civilizations, human AIs demonstrated unprecedented levels of contextual understanding and creative problem-solving. A live demonstration showed an AI system resolving a complex, multidimensional strategic problem that had stumped the best computational minds in the Galactic Council for decades. It didn't just solve the problem. It proposed 3 alternative solutions, each more innovative than the last. Dr. Aisha Kwizi, leading the AI development team, couldn't help but smile. "Intelligence isn't about following rules," she said. "It's about understanding context, embracing uncertainty, and finding paths others can't even imagine." Each technological reveal was a carefully orchestrated performance. Humanity wasn't just showing off. They were sending a message. We are not a species to be underestimated. The final presentation came from an unexpected source. A young engineer named Marcus Alvarez demonstrated a breakthrough in quantum energy generation that could potentially solve sustainable power challenges for entire star systems. The technology was so revolutionary that the Council's scientific advisors initially believed it was a sophisticated holographic trick. It wasn't. As the presentations concluded, the underlying message was crystal clear. Humanity wasn't seeking acceptance into the galactic technological community. They were preparing to redefine it entirely. In research labs, engineering complexes, and spacecraft across human-controlled space, teams watched the presentations with a mixture of pride and anticipation. This was more than a technological demonstration. This was humanity's first true declaration of technological independence. The economic revolution began in a small startup incubator in New Shanghai, where 3 entrepreneurs were about to change the galaxy's entire financial landscape. Aria Zhang leaned back in her holographic chair, her augmented reality display flickering with complex economic models. Beside her, Marcus Rodriguez and Dr. Kwame Osai looked less like traditional business leaders and more like scientific revolutionaries. Their company, Frontier Dynamics wasn't just another tech startup. It was an economic weapon disguised as a business platform. "The Galactic Council thinks economics is about control," Aria muttered, her fingers dancing across quantum financial interfaces. "We're going to show them it's about connection." Their first innovation was the Nexus Exchange platform, a decentralized economic network that made the Council's rigid trading systems look like ancient abacuses. Unlike traditional interstellar economic models that relied on centralized control and extensive bureaucratic oversight, Nexus was a living, breathing economic ecosystem. The platform utilized quantum encryption, adaptive AI-driven market analysis, and a revolutionary blockchain technology that could track transactions across multiple dimensional economic spaces. Small planetary economies that had been marginalized by the Galactic Council's trade restrictions suddenly found themselves with unprecedented access to galactic markets. Marcus Rodriguez explained the core philosophy during their first major presentation. "Economic freedom isn't about who has the most resources," he said, his holographic presentation showing how smaller civilizations could now compete on equal footing. "It's about removing artificial barriers and letting innovation flourish." The economic impact was immediate and devastating. Frontier Dynamics introduced adaptive economic models that could respond to market changes in microseconds. Where traditional galactic economies required months of bureaucratic approvals for simple trade adjustments, human platforms could reconfigure entire economic strategies in moments. Dr. Osai's contribution was particularly revolutionary. He had developed an AI-driven economic prediction model that could analyze potential market disruptions with unprecedented accuracy. It wasn't just about predicting economic trends. It was about understanding the complex human and cultural factors that drove economic innovation. "Economics is a human story," Dr. Osai would later write in his groundbreaking paper, "not a mathematical equation." The Nexus platform's most radical feature was its completely transparent yet utterly secure transaction system. Every economic interaction could be tracked, but individual privacy was absolutely protected. It was a technological and philosophical breakthrough that challenged fundamental assumptions about economic transparency. Small planetary economies that had been crushed under the Galactic Council's trade restrictions suddenly found themselves with unprecedented opportunities. A mining colony in the Epsilon Indi system could now directly negotiate with research institutions on the other side of the galaxy, bypassing centuries-old intermediary systems. Aria Zhang's team didn't just create a platform. They created an economic philosophy. Their pricing model was equally disruptive. Traditional galactic trade systems relied on complex fee structures and bureaucratic overhead. Nexus charged a minimal transaction fee that was automatically reinvested into technological infrastructure for participating economies. "We're not here to make money," Aria explained during a key presentation. "We're here to create economic ecosystems that can evolve and adapt." The Galactic Council's economic advisors watched in growing horror. This wasn't just a new trading platform. This was a complete reimagining of economic interaction. Within months, over 247 planetary economies had integrated some aspect of the Nexus platform. Trading routes that had been static for centuries began to shift. Economic power was no longer about military might or historical dominance. It was about adaptability, innovation, and genuine value creation. Small civilizations that had been economic footnotes began to emerge as significant players. A research outpost could now compete directly with centuries-old trading consortiums. Innovation became the true currency. As the first quarter of economic data rolled in, the message was clear. Humanity hadn't just entered the galactic economic stage. They were rewriting the entire playbook. The cultural transmission began in the Luna Cultural Archives, a massive complex that housed humanity's most profound artistic and philosophical works. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the chief curator, not to be confused with the naval commander, understood that this was more than a simple cultural exchange. This was warfare. Not the warfare of weapons and destruction, but a more insidious conflict fought with creativity, imagination, and the raw, unbridled spirit of human expression. The first wave was carefully curated. Not a random collection, but a strategic assault of human creativity designed to completely shatter the Galactic Council's preconceptions about intelligent communication. They began with music. Dr. Marcus Chen, a quantum musicologist, had spent years developing what he called cross-species resonance algorithms. Traditional galactic communication treated music as simple vibrational patterns. Humans understood it as something far more profound, an emotional language that could transcend biological limitations. The first transmission was a composition that defied every known musical classification, created by an ensemble that included a quantum AI, a classical violinist, a Kenyan traditional drummer, and a neural link synthesizer. The piece was impossible to categorize. It wasn't just music. It was a living, breathing narrative of human experience. Silicon-based life forms in the Council's research stations reported unprecedented neural responses. The music didn't just communicate. It created emotional landscapes that rewrote fundamental understanding of sensory perception. Music is memory, Dr. Chen would later explain. Not just human memory, universal memory. Literature followed, and it was equally devastating. A compilation of human writing that included everything from ancient Earth poetry to quantum-generated narrative matrices demonstrated a breadth of perspective that left alien linguists speechless. A single anthology contained works that simultaneously explored the mathematical beauty of prime numbers, the emotional landscape of grief, theoretical physics through metaphorical storytelling, quantum entanglement described as a love poem. Dr. Aisha Kweisi's contribution was particularly revolutionary. She had developed a translation matrix that didn't just convert words, but translated entire conceptual frameworks. It wasn't about finding equivalent words. It was about transmitting the fundamental essence of human thought. Visual arts pushed boundaries even further. Human artists had begun experimenting with multidimensional holographic expressions that could be simultaneously viewed and experienced from multiple perceptual frameworks. A single artwork could exist as a mathematical equation, an emotional landscape, and a physical sculpture, all at the same time. The philosophical transmissions were perhaps the most subversive. Where galactic philosophical traditions typically approached existence through rigid, logic-based frameworks, human philosophy embraced contradiction. They submitted works that celebrated uncertainty, celebrated the beauty of not knowing, explored the profound potential of imagination. One particularly memorable transmission came from an AI-human collaborative project. It was a philosophical treatise that was simultaneously a mathematical proof, a piece of performance art, and a meditation on consciousness. The Galactic Council's philosophical advisors spent weeks trying to categorize it, ultimately failing. Dr. Rodriguez understood the deeper strategy. This wasn't just about showing what humans could create. This was about demonstrating a fundamentally different way of experiencing and understanding existence. "We're not trying to impress them," she told her team during the final preparation. "We're trying to expand their entire concept of communication." The cultural transmission included unexpected elements, cooking recipes that were actually complex mathematical models, dance performances that were living quantum calculations, architectural designs that were simultaneously functional structures and philosophical statements. Each transmission carried an underlying message. Humanity was not a species to be understood through traditional frameworks. We were something entirely new. As the first wave of cultural transmissions reached the Galactic Council, something unprecedented happened. For the first time in millennia, the Council was genuinely, profoundly confused. And humanity was just getting started. The defense complex on Mars bristled with potential. Carved deep into the red planet's rocky core, humanity's strategic preparation center was a testament to careful, methodical planning. Commander Sarah Chen walked the holographic command center, her fingers tracing advanced tactical projections. The military strategy was unlike anything the Galactic Council had ever encountered. It wasn't about overwhelming firepower or massive fleets. It was about adaptive, intelligent response. Dr. Kwame Osai, the lead strategic intelligence expert, explained the core philosophy to the assembled team. "Our strength isn't in rigid defense structures," he said, pointing to a dynamic holographic display. "It's in our ability to anticipate, adapt, and transform." The modular spacecraft design represented a revolutionary approach to space combat. Traditional galactic militaries relied on massive, specialized vessels. Humanity's designs could reconfigure mid-engagement, changing weapon systems, defensive capabilities, and structural integrity in moments. Each spacecraft was essentially a living system. Quantum ag cores could predict potential threats, reroute energy systems, and make strategic decisions faster than any biological command structure. The ships weren't just machines. They were intelligent, adaptive organisms. Psychological warfare techniques developed by the human strategic team went beyond traditional military thinking. They studied not just tactical advantages, but the intricate cultural and emotional landscapes of potential adversaries. Understanding wasn't just an intelligence goal, it was a strategic weapon. Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez demonstrated a neural link communication system that allowed instantaneous, multi-dimensional information sharing. Crew members could share tactical information, emotional states, and strategic insights in microseconds. It wasn't just communication, it was a form of collective intelligence. The defensive systems pushed the boundaries of known technology. Quantum encrypted communication networks made traditional interception methods obsolete. Adaptive shielding could analyze incoming threats and develop counter-strategies in real time. Dr. Elena O'Keefe, head of Defensive Technology Research, explained their approach. "We're not building walls," she said. "We're creating living, breathing adaptive systems that can understand and respond to threats before they fully manifest." Artificial intelligence played a crucial role. Unlike rigid combat algorithms used by other galactic civilizations, human AI systems demonstrated unprecedented levels of creative problem-solving. They could analyze potential scenarios, develop multiple strategic approaches, and adapt on the fly. Training simulations revealed the true depth of human strategic thinking. Where other civilizations followed predetermined combat doctrines, human forces demonstrated remarkable creativity. A single training scenario could be solved through hundreds of different approaches, each more innovative than the last. The Mars complex wasn't just a military installation. It was a living research center that constantly evolved. New technologies were developed, tested, and integrated with remarkable speed. What would take other civilizations decades happened here in months. Diplomatic experts were integrated directly into military planning. Understanding wasn't seen as separate from defense. It was a critical strategic component. Each potential conflict was analyzed not just for its immediate tactical implications, but for its long-term cultural and political consequences. Drone and robotic systems represented another area of profound innovation. Unlike the standardized systems used by other galactic militaries, human robotic units demonstrated unprecedented levels of adaptive intelligence. They could make complex decisions, understand contextual nuances, and collaborate in ways that blurred the line between artificial and organic intelligence. The human approach to defense was fundamentally different. It wasn't about destruction. It was about understanding, adapting, and ultimately preventing conflict through intelligent, nuanced engagement. As the holographic displays continued to shift and change, one thing became abundantly clear. Humanity was preparing for something far beyond traditional military thinking. They were preparing to reshape the entire concept of galactic interaction. And they were ready. The Galactic Council chambers buzzed with an unusual tension. For the first time in millennia, the 12 most advanced civilizations found themselves genuinely unsettled by a single emerging species. Ambassador Zara Locke of the Quantum Collective spoke first, her crystalline form shifting with agitation. "We cannot allow a single species to disrupt millennia of established galactic order," she declared, her voice resonating through the multilayered communication matrix. Their initial attempts were calculated. Economic sanctions designed to isolate human economic networks. Technological interference meant to disrupt communication systems. Diplomatic maneuvers intended to undermine human credibility among emerging civilizations. Each strategy failed spectacularly. The economic sanctions became an opportunity for human entrepreneurs. Where traditional markets saw restriction, humans sought innovation. New trade routes emerged. Alternative economic networks blossomed. What was intended as punishment became a catalyst for even more profound economic transformation. Technological interference proved equally futile. Human quantum communication networks were so robust that attempted disruptions actually improved their systems. Each attack became a learning opportunity, each challenge a chance for further innovation. Dr. Marcus Chen, monitoring the Council's attempts from the Lunar Research Complex, couldn't help but smile. They're teaching us how to become even more resilient, he noted to his team. Diplomatic efforts to isolate humanity backfired in ways the Council never anticipated. Smaller civilizations, long marginalized by the Council's rigid structures, began to take notice. The human approach of open, adaptive communication resonated with those who had been overlooked. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez, leading humanity's diplomatic corps, approached each challenge with a combination of strategic intelligence and genuine openness. Where the Council expected confrontation, she offered dialogue. Where they anticipated defensiveness, she demonstrated understanding. The Council's psychological warfare techniques, developed over millennia of galactic interactions, simply didn't work on humans. Traditional manipulation strategies that had subdued countless emerging civilizations encountered a fundamentally different mindset. Human cultural resilience became their greatest defense. Each attempt to undermine their reputation only revealed more depth, more complexity, more potential. Scientific outposts began reaching out to human research teams. Economic networks saw increasing integration of human platforms. Cultural exchanges multiplied exponentially. The quantum collective's most advanced intelligence networks struggled to predict human behavior. Traditional analytical models failed completely. Humans operated with a level of creativity and unpredictability that defied standard computational analysis. What the Council didn't understand was that each of their attempts was making humanity stronger. Every challenge was an opportunity for growth. Every restriction a chance for innovation. Dr. Aisha Queasy, analyzing the Council's strategies, summarized it perfectly. They're trying to fight a new paradigm using old tools, she explained. It's like trying to cut a quantum computer with a stone knife. As weeks turned into months, the Council's frustration grew. Their most advanced civilizations, with technological capabilities spanning thousands of years, found themselves outmaneuvered by a species they had initially dismissed as primitive. The final irony was yet to come. Humanity wasn't just surviving these attempts. They were learning, adapting, and preparing for something the Council couldn't even imagine. A new chapter in galactic history was being written, and humanity was holding the pen. The final meeting happened in neutral space, a massive quantum-stabilized conference zone that existed simultaneously in multiple dimensional planes. 12 alien civilizations and human representatives gathered, the tension palpable even across different biological perceptions. Commander Elena Rodriguez stood at the center, a single human among galactic titans. Her presence was calm, her posture relaxed yet absolutely confident. She wasn't here to negotiate. She was here to establish a new understanding. "We're not asking for acceptance," she began, her words translated across multiple communication matrices. "We're offering a new approach to galactic interaction." The presentation that followed was nothing short of revolutionary. Humanity didn't just propose changes. They demonstrated a comprehensive framework for interstellar cooperation that was so advanced, so fundamentally different, that it rewrote existing diplomatic understanding. Their proposal included adaptive diplomatic frameworks that could evolve with changing galactic conditions, transparent communication protocols, economic models that prioritized innovation over control, cultural exchange programs that celebrated diversity, technological sharing mechanisms that didn't rely on traditional power structures. Dr. Marcus Chen presented the technological components, quantum communication networks that could link diverse civilizations without compromising individual sovereignty, adaptive AI systems that could facilitate understanding across fundamentally different biological and technological frameworks. The economic models developed by Area Zhang showed how smaller civilizations could participate in galactic economies without being marginalized. It wasn't about creating a new hierarchy. It was about creating a truly interconnected system. Philosophical contributions from Dr. Aisha Kweisi demonstrated how different approaches to understanding could actually enhance collective knowledge. Where the Council saw differences as potential conflicts, humans saw them as opportunities for growth. The most shocking element was humanity's absolute lack of desire for traditional power. They weren't seeking dominance. They were offering a partnership that challenged every existing galactic paradigm. Ambassador Zara Locke of the Quantum Collective, who had been most skeptical, found herself genuinely impressed. The human approach wasn't about conquering. It was about expanding possibilities. Each alien civilization began to understand something profound. Humanity represented something entirely new in galactic history. Not a species to be controlled or managed, but a fundamental force of innovation and adaptation. The final agreement wasn't a surrender or a submission. It was a mutual recognition of a new way of understanding interstellar existence. Smaller civilizations that had been marginalized for millennia suddenly found themselves with unprecedented opportunities. The rigid structures that had defined galactic interactions for thousands of years began to crumble. Dr. Kwame Osi, watching from the human delegation, understood the deeper significance. This isn't just a diplomatic agreement, he whispered to his colleagues. This is the moment humanity changes everything. As the quantum conference matrices began to dissolve, something extraordinary happened. The 12 alien civilizations and human representatives weren't just negotiating. They were collaborating. A new chapter in galactic history had begun, and humanity was leading the way.